What?
गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गाना शॉट। गाना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। आई एम सॉरी आई कुडंट broadcast yesterday. This very same topic, PLA'S crisis and command. That was because of a problem with the streaming software, that is StreamYard, which I use. Got over it today, and here I am. Well, what am I going to talk of in this? Let me first put it across. If you had asked me, is there a crisis in PLA? Uh, Maybe about 10 days back, I would have said no. Well, purges are a normal part of the Chinese story. हर रोज कोई आता है, कोई जाता है, पर PLA keeps going. Is there a crisis? नहीं नहीं, I would say यार छोड़ यार, कौन सा crisis है? But it didn't stop there. I mean, something kept going in my mind, and I kept reading about all this, and till I came across an article. In fact, the first time I read that article, I missed it completely. You know, only the second time or the third time when I reread, because I was feeling uneasy, then the enormity of that article hit me till I read an analysis of that article somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'll present that to you, and you have to understand, and from there we'll take it forward. And we need to understand where PLA is, where Xi Jinping is in this whole business. Okay, this is it. And look, this article is from Xinhua. Okay, and it's on June 20th. And now we are where we are. A month later, I'm talking about this. What does it say? Stresses on PLA's political loyalty at crucial military meeting held in old revolutionary base. This held last month. Till then, from then to now, certain things have happened which I'll talk of. This was very critical. You know, this word old revolutionary base kept going in my mind. Why is it? Why is this coming? And this has been reported by almost every news media in China. Those of us, most of us have missed the whole story. I'm being very honest. I missed it. But then something happened and it caught me. Okay. What is this? Uh, this meeting was the Central Military Commission's political work conference. Okay. It was held in Yan'an. Yan'an is in Shanxi, central China. It was held between 17 to 19 July. Xi Jinping attended this conference. He delivered a keynote address there on 17th. And it came out on 20th. This is the point. Normally, when Xi Jinping attends such conferences, it comes out straight away. And this came out on 20th. And that too in patches. That's the first thing. It was an extraordinary meeting because such a conference is normally not held by the CMC. That's the beauty. It's not part of their routine. The Communist Party has a pretty well set routine, and this was not part of a routine conference. Now, a similar conference was held in 2014, 10 years back, in a place called Gutian by Xi Jinping. Okay. What he talked there and what he talked now is almost the same. Now, there's a history for this conference also. And the history for this conference is that Mao held such a conference in Gutian when in 1929, nearly 100 years back. And from then it is called the Gutian Conference. And why is this Gutian Conference important at that point of time? It established the relationship between the CCP and the PLA. And it established Mao's leadership in PLA, not in CCP, PLA. Okay, it's called the Gutian Conference. Now, the Gutian Conference has got a symbolic issue. In 2014, Xi Jinping takes this conference in Gutian, and again now he takes it in Yan'an, which is somewhere there, right? So after 10 years, now what is the next thing? 6 areas of political military construction were put out. What is this? Enhancing ideological transformation with a greater sense of purpose. ये तो किताब में जो whatever has come out in public, I'm talking to you. Increasing the leadership, organization, and execution of the party. So the party is important. Strengthening cadre development. So the cadre, it's not leadership, it's the cadre development. Rooting out the soil and conditions that breed corruption. Very important. So उखाड़ के फेंको जो भी it's like weeding out. So a lot of purges will have to take place. Boosting the spirit for taking initiatives and entrepreneurship. Restoring and promoting the fine tradition of political work. So it's more political in nature. Such an extraordinary conference happening without planning, not pre-planned. It's kind of impromptu. It reveals the internal challenges the PLA is facing. And it also tells us that Xi Jinping perceives a crisis in command. Is it new? This crisis in command? No, it's not new. Let me be very upfront about it. I'll tell you as we go along why it's not new. I mean, you have to understand this whole story a slightly different angle. I mean, look, this is not a normal podcast I do, giving you about China's economy. I would suggest that those of you who are seeing it, like this video and give it to your friends. And I would like a feedback on what I'm going to talk. In any case, the feedback is not what I'm going to talk, the feedback will come from China. Don't worry. Okay, so what is the next issue? Now, Xi has said, these are his exact words, political military construction is a shared responsibility of the army. CMC must increase unified leadership to greatly coordinate the political work department with the political work department, UPWD. Okay. Disciplinary Inspection Commission and Political Legal Affairs Commission under it to fulfill responsibility together, striving to create a new era of political military development. This is absolutely Xi Jinping's words. Then he spoke of maintaining military discipline, preventing corruption, integrity, benefits of officers and men by resolving grassroots issues to fulfill the important functions and responsibility, all that nonsense. This is what actually the message. But it's a very chilling message he has given to his top commanders. Okay. Now look at this. This is a picture which comes out. Ordinarily, you'll see, look, you just a set of chaps walking. But I look very closely at this picture. First, Xi Jinping is wearing a military uniform. He likes to be treated as a military man. Of course, he's not wearing a rank tabs, but he's in otherwise in military uniform. Like he likes to wear camouflages and military dress and parades and all that. Mao style dresses, formal military attire. Okay, and this is the green, light green and dark green is the formal military attire of the PLA. Next to him, both sides are his vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. And behind this are the other members of the Central Military Commission and then the rest of the conference. Who are the rest of the conference? I'll come. The theater commanders, all that. So this photo is taken hierarchically. It's not an arm photo. But the beauty is this photo is in public domain and no one has been able to decipher it. It's got tremendous significance. The significance is Z is in the center of military affairs. He is leading. Even in this, if you see it shadows everything. Xi Jinping is one step ahead of the other two central military vice chairmen. They are all behind, and everyone is in a hierarchy. This is a hierarchical photograph. And this photograph, I'm sure, the Chinese leaders and the PLA officers, men and all, will understand it well. We might not pick it up. Okay? So, what next? Who attended? Zhang Yujia and He Weidong. They are both members of the Politburo and CCP. And, of course, vice chairman of the CMC. So, Politburo is 25 chaps, top guys. They're not part of the standing committee of the Politburo, right? They are members of the Politburo and vice chairman of CMC, one of the 25. So that's the linkage at the top between the PLA and the CMC. And very funnily, it stops there. There's no other linkage. It is the linkage between the political and the arm of the political system and the PLA hierarchy is at the CMC. And through the political bureau or the Politburo, CMC members, okay, these three chaps, Liu Zhenli, Mia Hoa, and Zheng Min. These chaps are not part of the Politburo. They're part of the CMC. Very funnily, the new defense minister is absent from this conference. No quest. There are no reasons why he is absent. He's just absent. Just think. Here you have a system where two defense ministers are sacked. You put a third chap, and he's not there in this conference. And you have members from departments of the military commission, institutions, theater commands, command centers, services of the military units. Everyone has sent a rep, must have sent a senior rep. But your defense minister is not there. That's why I put it in red. Let's go back and see. Do you see the defense minister anywhere? He's not there. Okay? Defense minister is not there. You look at this photograph. There's no defense minister. He's not even the Central Military Commission so far. You look at this photograph carefully. Let me enlarge it for all of you. If you look at this photograph very carefully, you'll see there are 5 chaps sitting in the front row with Xi Jinping in the center, 3 on one side and 2 on the other side. I put a circle with a question mark. There's a blank. Because the Central Military Commission otherwise supposed to have 7 members. The 7th member has not been filled. Lo and behold. Everyone thought that the defense minister will be there, but he is not nominated. He is not there in the conference at all. Someone who knows all these faces has very clearly said that he is not there in the conference. So I go by that. So what's happening? Something very, strange. All I'll say is it is strange. Okay? Right. So this is where we are. Now let me talk of the PLA. Look, the PLA has always been a self-governing institution under the CMC. Yeah, that's the way the whole PLA has grown through the time it was established in 1929. The CMC governed the PLA, not the CPC or the Chinese Communist Party didn't govern the PLA directly. It was through the Central Military Commission. I've told you, the only linkages with through any one part of CMC who are part of the Politburo would then control the CMC through that. Okay, there is no external checks and balances on the PLA like congressional oversight or independent judiciary or investigative reporters. They have no say on the PLA. The PLA can be actually controlled only by the CMC. And the CMC, at this point of time, of course, Xi Jinping is there as the head. And you'll be surprised at one point of time, the general secretary of the party and the president China, Hu Jintao and Jiang Zemin, were not heading the CMC. When when Jiang Zemin was the president, it was Deng Xiaoping who was heading this CMC and controlling China. China believes in separation of the military and the civil for their own reasons. It, you know, the CMC, it is through the CMC that Mao in his days controlled the party. But then it has its own danger. The PLA could be a rogue animal. And hence, the PLA cannot be made independent. There's no independent thinking. It has to be political. So, politicization and loyalty of the PLA is important. And that is why the PLA has the system of commissars, political commissars, dual command. And those fellows are given directly by the CMC down below. The political control is through the commissars. So the commanders have only limited control. But yet, there have been commanders who have faced up, they've been executed also. That's a different story. But the system is like that, and we have to understand this. Under Mao, PLA was heavily involved in governing the country. Senior officers held top positions in the party and they governed the country. The PLA governed the country at some point of time. But then, like I said, PLA was not fully under control. Under Mao, it was under control because Mao carried out tremendous amount of purges and finished them off. ये वो जो भी है. Deng Xiaoping, he wanted governance by civil technocrats. He sent the PLA to the barracks and said, "You focus on military modernization." What was the bargain? Bargain was PLA will be free to operate their businesses whatever they wanted. But through the PLA, he controlled the CCP because the CCP also was rotten. When Mao died, there were a lot of cliques around in the CCP. So he controlled the PLA through giving them adequate powers to control, in many issues, letting them run businesses, all that. And he controlled the party through the PLA. In fact, when in Deng's time, the party did not command the gun. The gun commanded the party. I told you, Jiang Zemin and Hu had difficult times with the PLA. In fact, when Deng left being the general secretary and handed over reins to Jiang Zemin, he controlled the party through the PLA. Same thing happened when Hu Jintao came. It was Xi Jinping who was given command of all three by the party elders. The party elder system was strong then. Now it is gone. Xi Jinping has finished that off. Why did it do it? Because they felt that the entire communist system was at stake in 2012, 2013, 14 when Xi Jinping took over. People realized that if the PLA and the CCP are allowed to be separate, not under one man's control, the system will come crashing down. And that is why Z was given control of all three. And he went about it ruthlessly. So when at the beginning of his career, tenure in 2013 when he started, he took out a few guys, the Bourgeois campaign, and then he sacked two, three generals at that time. And then he held this conference at Gutian, where he reiterates in 2014 the party commands the gun. And he corralled the corruption. He carried out extensive purges to get in professionalism. And he got this motto of fight and win wars. Okay. So look at it. The same Gutian story repeats now after 10 years. Now you don't want to fight and win wars alone. You want to be a world class army. So there's the issue. Okay. Right. So I've given you the back. I've given you the whole that conferences took place at Gutian or Yan'an. He probably avoided going to Gutian because otherwise Gutian conference dobara ho gaya. So people will say what's happening. Shifted the place, but the content was the same. The significance was the same. And during the conference, the staff went for a tour of all the revolutionary places also with Xi Jinping to reinforce the revolutionary spirit of that time. I mean, it's not simple. Let me assure you, it's not simple. And I'm not spinning a story. I'm showing you photographs. I'm showing you all these are Chinese media. It's not my own imagination. Okay. Now, if you go back in history again, Xi allowed PLA to remain free from outside supervision. Why? To consolidate his power. He didn't allow anyone to interfere in the PLA. So you have a situation. Now, but I'll come to that situation a little later. I'll come to that situation a little later. But the fundamental fact is Xi Jinping, unlike Mao, lacks military acumen. And he collected all these fellows through purges and made them leaders. Okay? But there is political fawning, poor leadership. All that has resulted through the purges and everything. What has Xi Jinping done over the past 10 years? He's gone into military overstretch. Whether it's at Doklam, Yangtze, Eastern Ladakh, Taiwan, South China Sea, Philippines, Japan, or the Djibouti, where he's got a base where Chinese do nothing. The PLA has gone out but achieved nothing. What have they achieved? I mean, you look at it, everyone says Eastern Ladakh, they're not going back and all. What have they achieved? Nothing. Because you're also sitting there. He's got some small rocks here and there. What have they achieved in Philippines? They're in trouble. They can't go across Taiwan. Japan, Philippines, Taiwan, Indonesia. All these fellows have spent more than 2% of their GDP on defense. In fact, Japan has doubled. So that means you've got a harder nut to crack around your first island chain. Japan and Korea want to even nuclearize. Then there you have a bigger headache. So there's a problem. And then they have very poor strategic vision. That's very clear now. And their political military capability is also weak because the chaps who have been promoted don't have the guts to stand up to Z and say, this is it. And Z doesn't have the confidence in any of these chaps. That's very apparent. Now, now I said this difference is touching Z. Why? Because people are people. They'll be corrupt. They have their own ambitions and all that. They're not the only linkages at the top. Now, if you get to the top and the PLA is under you, you're the say a vice chairman of the PLA, and you're not loyal to Z, you can topple Z. And there are reports that in between that Xi Jinping avoids going by plane. For example, from I think from that conference in South Africa, he landed up in Xinjiang, and from Xinjiang he went by train to Beijing. So it's not all hunky dory that he's got control over the PLA. There are serious implications. Now the next thing is, if he's got a problem with the PLA, and if you see he's got stuck in all these places, and there's a military overstretch, because there's a large part of PLA now sitting in Tibet. There's a large part of PLA and PLA Navy which is sitting in South China Sea. There's a lot which is sitting for Taiwan. Who will defend China if anything happens? They're being pulled. So can Xi Jinping use force? Question mark. Now all these question marks are coming up. Actually, if you do this analysis, it's coming up. So when I say China cannot undertake military operations, you have to look at the leadership. You have to look at the thinking. Okay, let's look at this. What are the purges? From 2012, complete purges. There are two types of purges. Initial 4 5 years, the purges were to get control of the PLA. Today, it is to root out corruption, inefficiency, political rivalry, and resistance, and probably a thing that look, I might get ambushed by one of these fellows, or abducted, or a coup or something like that. Because 2 years back there was a talk of coup also. No, from 2012 to now, two defense ministers, two vice chairmen of CMC have been thrown out in different times. It's not something simple. Okay, it's not something that a chap has been sacked and then not seen. That's the kind of a sacking which happens in China. Now you have to go back into history. Like I told you, there's always been friction between the PLA and the political setup in China. This is the history. I took these out from their doctrinal, pamphlets or publications. Hu Jintao in 2006 spoke of two incompatibles. I mean, whatever that thing in China is, I just reproduced it. What are the two incompatibles? PLA's level of modernization does not meet the requirement for winning local wars under informatized conditions. So they're not modernized in 2006. Military capability does not meet the requirements of carrying out its historic missions. What are the historic missions? Make China into a great power. Hu Jintao felt this. Now, in 2013, when Xi Jinping took over, he says Deng Xiaoping, at the beginning of his four modernizations, he gave out these two inabilities. So Xi Jinping reinvents them. What is this? PLA's inability to fight a modern war and the ability of its cadres, that is officers, at all levels to command modern war are not sufficient. So professionalism. That he used this slogan of two inabilities to push PLA into professionalism. Then he came up with two big gaps. I mean, this is not something which is I'm talking out of the hat because based on one South China Morning Post story. What are the big gaps? Big gaps are between the PLA's military modernization level and the requirements of national security compared to the level of world's advanced militaries. So you might be modern, you might have your own doctrine, but can you fight with others? So there's a gap. There's an identified gap, and which Xi Jinping has enunciated. It's not me. And then there's a concern of PLA fighting abilities in general compared to other advanced militaries, highlighting the relative gap. Sometime maybe 2014, 15, 16, he came out with this. Then he came out with the three weathers, and all these are there in War on the Rocks. What are the three weathers? Whether the PLA can maintain the party's absolute leadership. So there are doubts that will the party be loyal to, or will the PLA be loyal to the Communist Party? Whether it can fight victoriously when needed. Remember, in the past, from 2020 to now, PLA has been aggressive, China has been aggressive, and I'm sure Xi Jinping knows how he has sent them to be aggressive. But where is the victory? Whether it can fight. So the three weathers, one weather is down, एक wicket तो गया. Whether commanders at all levels are competent to lead troops and command in war. So there's a question mark in his mind whether these chaps can do it. He's not confident, and he's expressed it. And later he comes out with something else. He comes out with 5 incapabilities, and this is as late as 4 5 years back. What are the 5 incapabilities? He talks of officers who cannot judge situations, understand higher authorities' intentions, that is Xi Jinping's intentions, make operational decisions, deploy troops and or deal with unexpected situations. Because they always look back. But they have their own fiefdom, hence corruption, peace disease because they have not fought a war, inexperience because they have not fought a war. Then there's the issue of tyranny of distance. Because everything about China is over 5,000 6,000 kilometers. Their fronts are far away. So they can't fight near their base. If we are fighting across the LAC, our base is 200 to 300 kilometers, maybe 400 kilometers away from the scene of fighting. But for China, he has to get it from mainland, 4,000, 5,000 kilometers. Or if he has to come to Indian Ocean, another 5,000 kilometers. He needs bases, logistics, everything. And for that, you need a tremendous planning. Just not someone has infrastructure who, one morning he can get up and start fighting. And you can't say I'll stop for 10, fighting 10 years before the fighting starts and I'll survive. That doesn't happen. Okay. You have to plan logistics. And then fight. The kinds of warfare are different. You might have a theory of warfare, but the other fellow also has a theory of warfare. So all these have been highlighted in Chinese writings. Now, again, now what happened in the 20th Party Congress? When was the 20th Party Congress held? October 22. There, Xi Jinping stresses the need for military capabilities to shape our security posture, deter and manage crisis and conflicts, and win local wars. Why I have highlighted local wars? Because before that, what China was thinking, well, there'll be global leaders, yeah, all that. This business of local wars came back into the lexicon of Chinese military thinking. अरे भाई पहले छोटा लड़ाई तो लड़ लो, लोकल वॉर तो जीत लो, वो तो जीत नहीं सकते आप दुनिया को पकड़ने चल पड़े. You want to capture the world, but you are not able to capture small places. You couldn't get hold of Galwan or Chushul. You got defeated by that operation, Kailash Range operation. Your political aims are not achieved. And remember, everything in China is political. First political, then the rest. And Xi Jinping, it's there in the 20th Party Congress proceedings if you read it, because at 45 pages, I can't show it to you. You'll get bored. Xi Jinping is worried about political reliability, mobilization, fighting and winning wars, and leadership and command. It's there in the writings. Then that's what it is. So now let's come to the crux of the story. So I made this timeline. This whole story actually starts on June 23rd. New PLA rules were issued. And Kin Gang, that foreign minister, was sacked. So you will say there's no connection between the two, but there is a connection because that foreign minister was supposed to have been compromised and thrown out. So let's see what happened on June 23rd. These were the rules which were brought out. And these rules were unprecedented. Not even in most time were they there. And it curtailed their social lives. And this was applied to senior officers also. A code of conduct for dealing with Communist Party officials, government bodies, state-owned enterprises, social organizations, media, academic and research bodies, ethnic minorities, but जो भी है. It targets the leading cadres of military, applied to retired generals because they have influence inside the younger with the younger leaders. So this is last year, June 23. It starts with this whole story. Okay, right. Okay, then July 23rd. First lot, two PLARF rocket force generals sacked. We all know that. That's a very publicized. I have also analyzed it with General Raj Shukla. But what we didn't analyze was the second one, Zeus Aman's PLA top brass. So first he puts out a set of rules. He sacks two PLRF commanders. Then he comes out with a set of yeah. He summoned top brass to Beijing and said कि भैया loyalty है नहीं तो आप you can get out. And then this whole thing came out in PLA Daily. And very clearly, the message was the party must command the gun. Party will command the gun. If it doesn't, you can go home. So, right? Okay. What's the third one? Come August, Li Shangfu is sacked. Who's Li Shangfu? Li Shangfu was picked up, handpicked, like Kin Gang, handpicked by Xi Jinping and promoted into the Central Military Commission. 3 months. Within 3-4 months, he's sacked. When October 22, the 20th Party Congress is held. Immediately after the 20th Party Congress, Li Shangfu said, "You will become the defense minister." Because by then, Wei Fanghi, the previous defense minister, was missing already. March 22, in the NPC, National Party Conference, in March, April, NPC hota hai inka. He was appointed the minister. By August, he is sacked. See the rate at which things are happening. Can it be only due to corruption? Right. Then, let me see what's the next slide. I'm forgetting it. Okay, I'll come back to this. This is also important. It has to be seen. Then December 23, another 2-3 months later, 9 PLA generals are sacked. So you'll connect the dots. That's why I put this slide. Connect the dots. 9 PLA generals are sacked. Okay. February 24, 2 months later, the SSF commander, Strategic Support Force commander, and the former SSF deputy commander of the aerospace department are sacked. Now, from PLARF to 9 PLA generals, and these 9 PLA generals were from different walks of life. One commanded the Southern Naval, Chinese command. He was in charge of the entire South China Sea operations. One was for space. Across the board, 9 were sacked. If you have a look, so PLARF chaps sacked, 9 generals sacked. Then your SSF, Strategic Support Force commanders were sacked in February. In May, the Strategic Support Force is converted into an Information Support Force. In fact, it's broken up into 3 constituents: the Information Support Force, the Aerospace Force, and the Cyber Space Force. It's only the Information Support Force which is shown as a new reorganization. Others are kept quiet. and SSF was changed. Everyone thought, oh, analyze, analyze, analyze. My analysis says, yeah, there's something wrong with the whole story. So let me talk of that. Okay, Xi Jinping scrapped the SSF, the Strategic Support Force, which he created in 2015. Now, this is my opinion completely here. The Strategic Support Force actually integrated the PLA's space, cyber, electronic, and psychological warfare systems. Now, the Strategic Support Force had a commander who was reporting to the Central Military Commission. He was not part of the Central Military Commission. And the Central Military Commission in turn was reporting to Xi Jinping. So Xi Jinping, Central Military Commission, Strategic Support Force commander, and the Infos Force, Support Force, and all these fellows were underneath. So he was worried. I thought that the SFSF, the Strategic Support Force, was a very tremendous force because everything was there. But if every information is there with one person, he's a threat to Xi Jinping. So he broke it. And before breaking it, I've shown you. Go back. Let's go back. He sacks in February the top two chaps. So August, December, February, there's a big purge. It's not a small purge which has happened in China. I don't know. I mean, it's very surprising that people have not connected the dots. I thought people with, a lot of information about official thing will connect the dots to see what's happening. This analysis has not come out. And on the other hand, I find people in the west, north, east, south, west, everyone saying, "Oh, information support force, कुछ होगा यार उसमें, कुछ नहीं है, ये he's under threat." I mean, that's very clear. No, it's been branded as a new the information support force. It is branded as a new strategic arm of the PLA to fight and win in modern warfare and all that nonsense propaganda. But what is important? The PLA now has four services: the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force, with new commanders all across, plus four arms, right? Three units spun off from the SSF, that is the Information Support Force, the Aerospace Support Force, and the Cyber Force Support Force. All three of them, their commanders are under the CMC directly under the Zichik, directly. No more nonsense. No more intermediate with the fact. No one knows who he is, where he is. And they put a guy who's got a sort of Damocles around his head already. No one knows who he is, why he's brought there. And then now you see this whole story with the defense minister absent from this conference, where he's called everyone to. So there is something seriously wrong in the PLA, the way I look at it. Don't believe me, don't believe me. Okay. So SSF to ISF. Then what happens? May. This happened in May. In June, two defense ministers out. Finished. Third defense minister now not seen. We don't know what he's doing. He was there in that conference in Singapore. But what's his efficacy? We don't know. After that conference in Singapore, what the Shangri-La dialogues? He spoke in the Shangri-La dialogues last month. But this month, for the main party conference, he's not there. Okay? For this political work conference, which is now held, these chaps have held. And then, yeah, let me go back. And then, so in July, the rectification conference on, or rectification in progress in PLA. So what is this? That also gets publicized. It gets heavily publicized across all media. में सुधार हो रहा है पीएलए के अंदर. What is this सुधार? Military commits to full rectification and corruption investigations wake. He's made the he's made the PLA commit to, right, this. The PLA will undergo a complete rectification to strengthen the party control over the military. It means it's not there yet. There are problems. CMC has said that PLA would double down on political education and following the downfall of two defense minister, all that. The rectification process will include the review of military policies, practices, promoting discipline, responsibility among personnel, integrating efforts into the struggle preparation of war construction military. If you do all that, your PLA will not be fit for fighting. You don't have leadership. So the leadership is functioning in China with a gun to its head across the board. The PLA. If that is the thing, how will PFLA win wars for us? And today, in such ambiguity, gray zone operations, hybrid operations, information flow, narrative building, and all this, uh, a complicated thing without leadership. If there's no leadership, nothing can move forward, right? So finally, what do I say? This is what I wrote. This I wrote December. In December, I wrote this in the Eurasian Times. This is my article. Have a look at it. In fact, I'll show it to you closer. This is it. You can have a look at my name, guest author PR Shankar, Eurasian Times, all this. Right? Op-ed by Lieutenant General PR Shankar, retired. What have I written in this? That soldiers are new always because of 2 year turnover. That leaders, you've seen the complete hack which has taken place. Equipment is pretty doubtful with so many rocket launches going. I spoke about this with General Narayanan. So many defects happening. Their organizations are changing regularly. Every 1 year, 2 years, a new major organization comes up. The roles of the PLA are changing. And the battlefields in which they have to fight are now going farther away. That's also changing. If your battlefield is only the Himalayas, you can fight in the Himalayas. But now you opened up Philippines, so that's a battlefield. Taiwan was an old battlefield. Now Japan is another new battlefield. Now those battlefields are not on your shores, but they're 500-600 kilometers away from you in open seas. So your battlefield, roles, organization, equipment, all these six incapables are there. Now none of this is stable. If none of this is stable, with Xi Jinping what he is, right? Uh, yeah, with Xi Jinping what he is, and the state of the leadership where we are, if this is not a crisis in command, what is? So I just thought I'll put all this across to you. The net of the story is the PLA might be big, but as far as it has the six incapables, and as far as one of these incapables keeps coming up to the top, and these are serious incapabilities, and the leadership, lack of leadership is very serious. Obviously, there is a case of corruption where of substandard equipment. Now, how it has hit China, where it has hit, we don't know because there are cases of substandard equipment being sold to Bangladesh, to Nigeria, to Pakistan, and many other countries where they have exported. And we've seen certain failures of rocket systems and all within, and this corruption probes and all that. So there's a huge issue with the PLA. We have to understand it. These weaknesses have to be exploited by us. Right? I just thought I'll put all this across to you people. In case you feel that this video is worth your effort, I would request you to kindly like it, and if you're listening, send it to others, your friends. And I would request you people for the first time, those you're seeing, subscribe to Gunner Shot. I'd also request you to become members of Ghana Shot so that you know you can help the system out. I can't run this channel on pure love and fresh air. And also contribute if you can. And I've told you why. So let me now